What's up, kids? Children and babies. Good to see y'all in here. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. We do illuminate things with fire. Sometimes things get incinerated. You know, that's just the cost of doing business around here, kids. How can we get anew when we are still dealing with the old? And here in America, we're dealing with a lot of old, especially on the election front. And we're dealing with a lot of old everything, not just old leadership, old thinking, old ideas, old solutions to ongoing problems. That's why Burn It Down with Kim Brown is here. We are here to burn the old. And I don't mean the elderly and the wise. I mean antiquated methods of thinking that do not benefit the collective, right? Because it's time. It's past time. We have to do way better. And we have to force motherfuckers to do better, right? So here we shall begin. Anyway, welcome everybody to the program. Thank you guys so much for making some time. I'd like to welcome. We got some new subscribers. Molly was busy out here working on them shorts, y'all, and YouTube. Hmm, like the crack dealer it is. It rewards you when you feed the machine, when you feed the algorithm, YouTube will then reward thee. And we're up almost 200 new subscribers in less than a month, which normally does not happen around here. So if you're watching the show for the first time, welcome. Thanks for checking in. I've got some good stories, I believe, coming up. Obviously, we want to get to what is continuing to happen, the genocide that is continuing to happen in Gaza with the Super Bowl massacre. While everybody was watching the Super Bowl in America, Israel decided to execute one of its most deadly bombing campaigns of this entire quote war. And this comes right as the US Senate voted to approve over $90 billion in funding, not just for Israel, but for Ukraine and Thailand, not Thailand, Taiwan. That funding has not yet passed the House. It may or may not do so, but it just goes to show you where the US priorities lie in continuing to fund the genocide. And this is one of the issues in which Democrats and Republicans differ very little. And I want to point that out in my segment. Also, I'm going to talk about the shooting at Joel Osteen's church, y'all. It's sensational because one person, the shooter, died, and it happened at Joel Osteen's church, right? This is why it's national news. Now, for our people watching from outside of this country, shootings at churches are not exactly unheard of in this very sick and twisted country we live in. But what happened at Joel Osteen's church, number one, could have been way worse. And number two, could have easily been prevented. It was a cascading failure of systems in this country, of healthcare systems, of lack of access to proper mental health care, lack of attending to the needs of children, lack of gun control, lack of a lot of shit. And there are some details about the shooter that I think it's important for us to know. So I want to get into that here in just a few minutes. But I gotta say what's up. Before I get started, let me say what's up to all the folks checking in. Oh, we have a few people in here. We appreciate it. If you're new, first things first, welcome. Second thing, don't be on no bullshit. To everybody, you can come and kick it, just don't be on no bullshit. And shout out to all of our regs. We got some wonderful regs here. I see Damian Stoner Loner is in the building, Vesper X is in the building, our good brother Latif, one of our wonderful mods, is in the building. Who else do we have in here? Maddie, good to see you in here. Tyler, my son, thank you so much for coming through. Oh, there's Afra. Afra sings. Thank you so much, Afra, for being here as well. Who else do we got in the building, y'all? We got folks checking in. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up, please, y'all. Engage favorably as you are able with the content. Please and thank you. What up to Wendy? Thank you so much, Wendy, for making the time. Thank you so much to Holly making the time. Stren, thank you so much for checking in. I appreciate it. So yeah, I want to get into this story, everybody. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Oh, y'all, I'm gonna announce our fundraiser starting next week. I was like, I looked at that shit. I said, "Why are we so broke?" I said, "Oh, right, it's time, it's time for a winter fundraiser, so we can hopefully be slightly unbroke, a little less broke." So, everybody, put your little coins together and save them joints up. I'll take 5 from everybody, but if you can give more, no problem. But with that, starting next Tuesday, we will be announcing our winter to spring fundraiser, even though March is still technically winter still. So I don't know. Whatever. Let me shut up. Anyway, guys, engage with the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much for following us places around the internet at BIDWKB. So on Sunday, this past Sunday, the news broke that out of Lakewood Church, the Houston area mega church, helmed by none other Mr. Church himself, super duper pastor Joel Osteen. And I don't mean super duper necessarily as a positive or favorable superlative about Pastor Osteen. It's just that when it comes to the phenotype, I suppose, of the mega church pastor, Joel Osteen is it. Them giant fucking horse teeth. This nigga smiling at me. Well, God bless you. Everybody hold it up. This is my Bible. It said, y'all gonna give me a bunch of money. It also said, y'all gonna put me in a giant mansion in Jesus' name. Amen. So at Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church, this is in the Houston area, there are reports coming out from the afternoon Spanish language service, which I believe was scheduled to start 2 p.m. Central Time. Shots rang out from Lakewood Church, and the information coming about the woman who entered the church and shot up the thing are quite revealing. So let me just give you quick details, although I'm sure you already know. The woman who was a 36-year-old by the name of I had it just here. I'm sorry. Her first name is Genesse. Genesse was there with her 7-year-old special needs son, even though I believe it has been confirmed that the child that was with her is indeed her child. So after she entered Lakewood Church, she had an AR style rifle. I'm not sure if it's an AR-15 or not, but the video, which I'm not going to show, you can hear all these shots, boom, 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 like rapid succession of firing of shots. There were 2 off-duty police officers working security, and as reports have said, that they exchanged gunfire with her, shot and killed her. The 7-year-old child is in critical condition, still remains hospitalized with a gunshot wound to the head. News reports nor the police have confirmed that the police indeed shot the child, but I don't think that's too big of a leap to make the assumption that the cops are the ones whose bullet that we are going to find in that child's skull, right? Which goes to show you again, cops ain't shit. Okay, I understand that they had some would even argue a very impossible decision. You have a person that is actively firing into a crowded area, and they have a child in proximity to them. But again, let something happen to that child, and I assure you, neither of those cops are going to face or be held accountable for that. But just goes to show you that even trying to stop an active shooter situation, policing is fraught with all kinds of potential mistakes and lots of room for grave error, as unfortunately we've seen with the 7-year-old. So, in the wake of the shooting, again, the shooter herself was killed. Another individual was injured, a 57-year-old man. And it turns out that this woman had had extensive contact with the police. In fact, at one point, she had been placed on an involuntary psych hold for 72 hours. And her neighbors describe her really as a bit of a terrorist, right? She is described as coming out of her home carrying gun cases. Her neighbors say that this was what she used to intimidate them. She would wave her guns, she would wave her crossbows, she would give the Heil Hitler salute. She is reported to have made a number of anti-Semitic statements. And in fact, the news has giddily reported that she had a Palestine sticker reportedly on the AR style rifle. But I'm like, the news is in knots trying to report this shit because they're like, but she was saying all this anti-Semitic things and doing the Heil Hitler. Then why she go to the Christian church and shoot it up, right? I'm sure, and I'm not suggesting that she should have gone to another house of worship at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying is the shit don't make no fucking sense, right? You could tell that this woman definitely was mentally disturbed. Don't get me wrong. Racism and anti-Semitism are not a feature of mental health issues. She was likely those things before she got a mental health diagnosis. But when you look at this lady's history, you could tell this is not a person that was well, right? And she was racist and anti-Semitic, right? To boot. Where do I have us starting here, Will? Let us go. I believe this is going to be KHOU. Hold on, let me pull this up so I know what I'm about to tell y'all here. Because again, I'm disturbed at how this woman was failed, how the community also indeed was failed. When I say she was failed, there was a number of opportunities for mental health intervention. She did not get it. Texas is amongst the worst state in the country for mental health access. For people who are experiencing mental health crisis, Texas makes it very difficult for people to obtain those services, right? In addition to being an open carry state, being a not red flag state, which I think is going to play a bit of a role here, because I mean, I can't even say had there been a red flag law on the books in Texas, I don't know if it even would have caught this woman, because we've seen the red flag law fail in instances before. So there is indeed that. Hold on. Where did let's go here. Okay. So this package gives us a little bit of an overview, but then I'm going to come back and give some more details because, again, the news is focused on the wrong shit. This package is going to lead off with the fact that this woman was once a member or once attended Lakewood Church. So it's almost like they're kind of giving it from the angle, oh, well, did she have like something against the church? Because she used to be a member of the church. But it's like, no, let us redirect and focus on the fact that this woman had multiple mental health diagnoses, and she had access to guns, right? So let's take a look at the package.
So tonight, KHOU Investigates learned of a connection between the shooter and Lakewood. Jeremy Rogowski joins us now. What did you and your team find out today, Jeremy?
Yeah, Len, we poured through court documents and the shooter's social media accounts and learned Genesse Moreno went to Lakewood Church at one time, as did her mother. And at one point, Moreno's ex-mother-in-law says she approached Lakewood staff with questions about her daughter-in-law's behavior. On Instagram in 2020, Genesse Moreno posted confirmation of a recent donation she made to Lakewood Church, writing, "I will honor and bless my church." Nearly 4 years later, police say she brought her 7-year-old son and an AR-15 rifle to Lakewood and began firing.
We want to know the motive, how she got the weapon, why she did this. We're not there yet.
Officials remain tight-lipped about a motive, but these court documents reveal Moreno had been involved in a contentious divorce and custody battle for her son. Her ex-mother-in-law, Rabbi Wally Carranza, intervened in the case, claiming Moreno had a diagnosis of schizophrenia, had been investigated 4 times by CPS, and intentionally harmed her child twice. Court records show Carranza says she sought assistance from the pastoral staff at Joel Osteen's church to understand Moreno's behavior. In 2022, Moreno won custody of her son after her Jewish ex-mother-in-law never appeared in court. Fast forward nearly 2 years later, authorities found anti-Semitic writings at Moreno's Conroe home.
We do believe that there was a familial dispute that has taken place between her ex-husband and her ex-husband's family, and some of those individuals are Jewish. So we believe that might possibly be where all of this stems from.
Now, the 36-year-old Moreno had a criminal history dating back to 2005, with charges ranging from theft to forgery, assault, and unlawful carrying of a weapon. Court records show she used another name, Jeffrey Escalante, in some of those cases. Len and Mia.
Thanks for unpacking all of that for us, Jeremy Rogowski. And we are.
So there's a lot to unpack there. That's KHOU. And yeah, she was a member of the Lakewood Church, big BFD, right? But okay, so let's get to the divorce, because the divorce filings are where a lot of information about this lady's state of mind came out. Okay. So Genesse Moreno, as you heard in the package there, did go by two aliases, Jeffrey Escalante and Jeffrey Escalante Moreno. Now, in all of her mugshots, she appears to, present femme. So I don't know what her aliases, I don't know the meaning behind that. But even in some of these court documents in her divorce, by the way, her ex-husband Enrique, if some were wondering why didn't the ex-husband take custody of the child in the custody hearings, because Enrique is locked up. Okay, Enrique is in a Florida jail, and is a registered sex offender. That's another rabbit hole. Cannot go down. But there's a lot here with this lady. Like I said, she was placed on an involuntary psych hold. Her mother-in-law identified her as being diagnosed schizophrenic. Her husband, in divorce proceedings, identified her as being diagnosed as psychotic. And her last encounter with the police prior to the shooting happened in 2022. Mind you, as you heard in the package, she had a number of encounters with cops, but they were all nonviolent, stupid shit, trying to pass a counterfeit $100 bill, maybe doing some disorderly shit, but nothing to denote violence. But her most recent encounter with police happened in 2022 when she was pulled over and found to be in possession of two handguns. She was charged with unlawful possession of handguns and ordered to serve 2 days in jail, and that was it. And the handguns were destroyed. I don't even know why that's an important detail, but I've seen it in a number of these reports. It's like, oh, okay. Do they destroy guns in Texas? Is that allowed? And that against the law? And that kind of like don't they protect guns like they protect fetuses in Texas? Are you allowed to destroy guns? Anyway, so this lady has not been charged with violence, but as you heard, well, at least let me tell you, her neighbors say again that she had threatened and intimidated them with crossbows. The neighbors had called police to the home a number of times, the home that she shared in Conroe, Texas, with her mother and the 7-year-old. But nothing seemingly ever came of it, right? And the gun that she used to shoot up Lakewood Church was one that she bought legally, you guys. And the only reason that we are not talking about a flat out massacre right now at Joel Osteen Church, I guess, is because somebody shot her ass. I guess the cops perhaps prevented a mass shooting, but at the sacrifice of the health and well-being of a 7-year-old child. And I know someone would be like, well, the 7-year-old child's health and well-being should have been his mother's first and foremostly. I understand that. But the child is basically an innocent bystander here who found themselves in the clutches of a mentally ill person who was experiencing a mental health crisis and had the ability to go legally obtain firearms. And in the state of Texas, gun safety advocates, especially in the wake of the massacre, literal massacre that happened in Uvalde, Texas at Robb Elementary School, there was a massive push to try to get red flag laws on the books in Texas. And the gun lobby, backed by the NRA, supported by that punk ass motherfucker governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, said that no way would any red law provisions ever pass in the state of Texas. The red flag laws, by the way, is when a person is thought or believed to be a danger to themselves, to others, either has domestic violence accusations or convictions, or has demonstrated mental health problems, right? Or mental health diagnoses. A judge determines whether or not that individual can keep their guns. And if anything, the law enforcement is supposed to go retrieve the guns And I guess if they get the shit cleared up, they might get their guns back. But so fucking what if they don't get their guns back? Like, anyway. And when I say, I think I said before that it's hit or miss whether or not these red flag laws actually work. Because in New York State, the Buffalo shooter, that little piece of shit, Peyton Genderon, who shot up the Tops supermarket there in Buffalo, killing 10 or a dozen or so black people intentionally. Prior to doing that shooting, he had made a threat against his high school. And because he had made a threat against his high school, they were supposed to put him on a list. Like, don't sell this little fucking psychopath guns. But the police, who I suppose took pity on poor little Rich Peyton from his upper middle class background, from his good nuclear Christian family, said, no. Peyton's family's going to get Peyton the help that he needs. We don't need to ruin his life by putting him on this list. No, so they instead decided to ruin the lives of his innocent victims there at the Top supermarket. So Peyton Genderon was supposed to be placed on a red flag list in New York State prior to doing that mass shooting. He was not. So that's why I say these red flag laws is hit or miss whether or not they work, because basically the people in charge of trying to secure the guns of a potentially dangerous person, all that shit is classed and racialized, right? The cops are racialized and classed. So if this person appears to be a good kid, or she seems like a nice person, and yeah, I see she's got Heil Hitler, but I like Hitler, says the cops. Not me, right? Well, we don't need to ruin. It's just madness sometimes in the way that the logic from people who are in charge of so-called public safety, the way that their rationale sort of manifests. It's like, how the fuck did this even happen? But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent, because this shit, when I started to read about this lady's story, I'm like, this shit is crazy. Will, pop up the article for me if you could, from the New York Post. So again, like I said, this lady is operating under different aliases for reasons I'm not sure. Her husband, Enrique, in the divorce petition, said that he feared for the safety of their son, their 7-year-old son, who was born with special needs. Enrique said in his divorce papers that Genesse was doing drugs while pregnant with the child. The child was born premature. And in fact, according to court documents, Enrique, the husband, said that Genesse would never even make eye contact with the child and never called the child by its name, instead referring to the child as the boy. Um, Social service workers even suspected that she, or perhaps not even social service. I think that this was actually the mother-in-law, who is a rabbi, by the way, Rabbi Cardenza, who is apparently a well-known rabbi in the Houston area, is Genesse's mother-in-law. And she made accusations not only of child abuse and neglect, but suspected Munchausen by proxy, where Munchausen by proxy is when a parent or guardian of a child in particular fabricates or falsifies issues with the child's health, tries to exaggerate, made up medical conditions in order to generate attention or something along those lines, right? So this kid seemed to be in a not positive situation with someone who obviously had their mental health faculties deteriorating. And where was the help for any fucking body? Now, I'm not clear on how involved Genesse, the Lakewood church shooter, I don't know how involved her mother was, because she lived in the home in Conroe with her mother and the child. The neighbors seemed to be scared shitless of this lady, and I can understand that, because she seemed quite terrifying. So, you guys, to be clear, I mean, this is not in dispute, but let me just say this again for the record. Women are definitely, absolutely capable of violence, capable of unspeakable violence. We speak on it seldom because it doesn't happen as often. Not to say it does not ever happen, because quite clearly it does. But when we look at what was going on with this woman, people, I don't know how she identifies racially. It kind of doesn't matter because she sounded like a racist piece of shit. If she had anti-Semitic views, I'm sure she didn't look too kindly on the blacks, right? Those things kind of go hand in hand. If you're an anti-Semite, very likely you very much hate the ends as well. You do not like the blacks. So, she was a racist piece of shit, and her mental health issues do not excuse or forgive that. However, she needed assistance so the public could be protected, so her child could be protected. And if you can't prevent people who have been placed on an involuntary mental health hold, if you can't prevent those people from legally purchasing any firearm, let alone an AR rifle, then the state has failed. And this is not news to the people in Texas. Even pre-Uvalde, Texas has had some of the most deadliest mass shootings happen there. And this is America, Jack. We've had thousands of mass shootings. So to say that one state has garnered some of the worst ever is really saying something. But it doesn't shock anybody in this country that state indeed would be Texas, because the gun laws there are incredibly lax. In addition to being an open carry state, I believe that they loosened the gun laws in Texas even more, right? You don't even need a permit, right? You could just the motherfucker just be carrying. It's the OK Corral in Texas, I believe, somewhere daily, I'm sure, right? And honestly, but for the grace, the saving grace of the universe, was this not a whole massacre at Lakewood? But the reason that this is not, it's getting attention because it happened at Joel Osteen's church. How did it happen at La Iglesia de la, the Sacred Virgin? You understand? Like the reason this is a story because it happened at Joel Osteen. Otherwise, these folks are not the folks that America would really care about. Like it would be a story for a day and then that'd be it. But let this encapsulate everything that is wrong with how this country deals with any sort of crisis. And the mental health issue right now in America is a crisis. And when people have the ability to cause massive harm and nothing is there to stop them, then what are we doing? What is the responsibility here? Why even elect a fucking sheriff? Why even elect a lieutenant governor, a governor? Like, if you're not going to do anything, like if your whole duty is public safety, which we get a lot of rhetoric, especially in this day and age, about all the crime, do something about unwell folks getting their hands on guns. And you guys know, by and large, I support guns. It's not so much that I support guns, it's that I'm a multi-marginalized person in America whose identities have historically been met with violence, right? I could never tell Black people or women to disarm. You can't, because all of our enemies are armed to the teeth. So I'm not so much a not gun control in that respect, right? Because I live in an area and in a region where there are lots of gun laws on the books in the state of Maryland, in Washington, D.C. In fact, Maryland and D.C. have amongst some of the strictest gun laws in the country. And guess what? It don't stop motherfuckers from shooting or from getting shot often around this bitch. So that's why I'm dubious about gun laws. However, I think in theory, red flag laws should work. But again, the red flag laws are going to meet the same sort of subjectivity of application as all these other fucking laws, right? Like, who they get applied against is relative. It's up to the discretion of the officer, up to the discretion of the judge. And those people tend to err on the side of, white and male. So I don't even know what a red flag law would have done in this instance. But goddamn, like when the government is totally laissez-faire, totally hands off, you get the potential for disaster. And this is again, this is let this encapsulate some of the madness that we're living in, right? We live in a country, people in Texas live in a state in which the rights of every single person to bear a gun is protected to the hilt. But women's reproductive health, nah, well, well. If we lose a few bitches, the man could just get new wives, right? There's lots of little girls out here ready to be I mean, that's what they think. That's how they think. But the protect the rights of the unborn are more important than protecting the rights of people that are actually walking, talking, living, breathing, existing at present. So let what happened to Genesse Moreno, you know, rest in peace. Unfortunately, like again, my empathy gap stops because she's racist. She's racist. Anybody bigging up Hitler is a racist, right? And I don't mourn them, but I do have some empathy, obviously, for the child, for the well-being of the child. I am praying that the child not only recovers but comes back stronger than ever and hopefully gets in a home situation in which their interests are being 100% looked out for. But Joel Osteen need to come up out his pockets and make sure that all of those that child's medical needs are paid for in full, and any ongoing care that child requires. Joel Osteen, not Lakewood Church, Joel Osteen ass need to come up out his pocket and do that, because we know how Joel Osteen sometimes act funny when it's time for Lakewood to step up and do some shit, right? What hurricane was that came through Houston and they had to guilt Joel Osteen into opening up the church doors to let people take refuge in the church? He had to get bullied into that shit. So let's bully him into making sure that he tends to the medical needs and any needs thereafter that this 7-year-old child who remains in critical condition, at my assumption is that the child was shot by the cops. There's that. So we want the speedy recovery, full recovery for the kid. And just let this crystallize like how much America does not give a fuck about any of us. Don't give a fuck about people going to church on Sunday. Don't give a fuck about children. If the rights of the gun supersede the rights of the human, welcome to America. That's that. Oh my goodness, I can't stand it here. Y'all, let me take a little pause for the cause. Whew, y'all. That lady story, crazy lady story is bonkers. I said, why is the husband in jail for sex offense? You know what? I don't want to know. I was learning too much. I was already learning too much about this woman. I said, I can't know another thing about this lady. And the fucking news, well, she's anti-Semitic. Okay, well, why she go shoot up Lakewood? I mean, she can't, I guess she could do both, right? She could walk and chew gum. She could be anti-Semitic and then go shoot up the Christian Lakewood church. But leave Palestine out of it. I mean, the bitch had a sticker. So what? So if she had a Kit Kat sticker on her on the gun, what would it? What would we should have read in from that? I knew they were trying to make it some other shit, but anyway. They were trying to make it that she was some pro-Palestinian terrorist, and that is actually not the case. She out here throwing up the fucking Heil Hitler. Fucked up the narrative a little bit, everybody, kids. Fucked up that narrative a little bit. Who we got in the building? What's up, Valencia? We got some newbies. What should we call the newbies, y'all? The sparks? y'all the sparks. Y'all the baby flames. Well, y'all get it. Come on in here, get comfortable. What's up, Feminist News Network? Thank you so much for making the time. Thank you. Oh, Nadia. Thank you so much, Nadia. Thank you so much. Appreciate seeing you in here. Love to see the ladies in the building, y'all. Love to see the ladies in the building. Ultimately, I don't know what the fuck most YouTubers want. I don't be watching them niggas. I don't know what them niggas want. But listen, if I got Black women and women of color checking me out, winning. That's my demo. Everybody else, that's extra, I appreciate the extras. But if black women is watching this, yes, that's what I'm talking about. What's going on, Infinite Content? Thank you so much for making the time. Lady Alex, thank you, baby. Peace, James. You know I love to see my brothers in here. Northern Witch, DD. DD, thank you so much for the Twitch reminders. What's up, Twitch? We indeed are streaming on Twitch. You know, and it's nothing against Twitch. Shout out to Twitch. Rosalba is with us on Twitch. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, guys, if you want to get the little cool iconography next to your name in the chat and stuff, become a channel member. It's just $1.99 a month. Oh, wait. Actually, someone did sign up to be a patron. Hold on. Let me shout them out. Dame uno momento, por favor. Did you guys watch the Remix Morning Show this morning? I caught some of it. I caught Jared and Kamal talking about Killer Mike on motherfucking The View. I said, damn it, why didn't I get my ass up and get on that morning show this morning? Because I'd have had jokes. Oh, I had jokes. Lots and lots of jokes. First of all, Killer Mike talk about speaking about his arrest. You guys watched it this morning. Talk about his arrest at the Grammys. Talking about some of his heroes also got dragged out in handcuffs. Martin, Malcolm, Mandela. I said, Martin who, nigga? Martin Lawrence? What? Who? Malcolm? Who are you talking about? Malcolm Jamal Warner? When Malcolm Jamal Warner get locked up? Surely you're not talking about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and yourself in handcuffs in the same sentence, as if it's the same shit. No. Now, Killer Mike and Martin Lawrence might have a similar experience in handcuffs getting locked up, but surely he wasn't talking about Martin Luther King. Sir, Martin Luther King was out there getting bit up by dogs and getting sprayed with fire hoses, and then they got his ass in handcuffs. You got in handcuffs because apparently you was knocking people down, right? Oh, I really think Killer Mike is in trouble for this shit. I do, because once the reports came out that the security person was a woman, and I think that there is going to be some CCTV footage to come out because this happened right in downtown fucking LA at the crypto.com arena. You trying to tell me there's not a camera at every door? Oh, there's a camera at every fucking door. That shit got caught at a way better vantage point than that shit I played from TMZ last week with somebody with the iPhone 12 from across the street. Oh, no. That incident is probably way more well documented than has been led on. And if he doesn't face actual like a criminal charge, and not to say that misdemeanor battery charge that he's already charged with is not criminal. It's a misdemeanor though. Shorty should sue him. She should absolutely sue him. Because from the video, the little janky video we saw, that person looked smaller than Killer Mike. He's a very large man. I am not a big woman. If a man that size, even if I put my hand on him, like, stop, you can't go no further, and he mushed me, like, just put me on the ground with 4 fingers. Oh, nigga, we going to court. Grammy Award winning rap artist Killer Mike. Oh my God. And then Killer Mike was on The View talking about he woke up to his $100,000 car. He woke up to his big bracelet. It's like, nigga, is that how Malcolm and Martin woke up to? Is that how Mandela woke up to the Buick in the Impala, the Chevrolets? I believe I got it made. Can you believe I got it made? Impala in the garage, and forces with all the J's. I'm leaning back. Riding shotgun in the Chevy with the homeboy burning. Y'all, you should fuck with Killer Mike. I'm trying to tell you. I like Michael Render as a rapper. Revolutionary? Where? Radical? Where? Where? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tangent. Check out this morning's edition of the Remix Morning Show on Black Power Media. My comrades, JB, KF, got it in. And they said it way more, way more eloquently than I just spewed it just now. So please be sure to check that out. I said this nigga, but the Killer Mike, but this nigga's in trouble though. I think he's in trouble. I think he's in trouble, but we shall see. We shall see. Anyway, hold on. Let me get back. Oh, right. I was trying to search for the patron. Hold on, patron. I got you, baby. Cause I appreciate it. Everybody. Oh, shout out to the librarian who ran us some bucks on last show, I believe. So thank you so much for your Cash App support. We appreciate that. Guys, like I said, we're going to start the fundraiser next week. God damn it. I'm going to find this patron. My apologies. Franny French, I think you edited your patronage skyward also. Let me thank you specifically, Franny, out here putting in work. We appreciate it, baby. I'm gonna get it together, y'all. So don't unpatronize me. Let me get my shit together, and I will properly recognize our new patrons here shortly. Psh, y'all, Molly did these shorts. That shit is crazy. I feel good about it. I appreciate it. Number one, I appreciate Molly cutting some shorts, and then I appreciate people subscribing to be on the strength for the shorts. It's just wild to me. It's like YouTube really wants you to be a digital crack dealer out here. Like you cannot run out. Don't run out because YouTube won't send nobody your way, right? YouTube wants you to be the digital dope house. And I don't know how I feel about that because, I mean, good, I guess. But baby, let me explain something to y'all. Labor is labor. Okay? Whether or not I'm sitting in my house laboring or I'm out there in the world laboring. Labor is labor. So there's that. So anyway, y'all, let me get to my next story because this is the serious shit. So let me tighten up. Hold on. Let me sit up. Thank you guys so much. Please engage with the content as much as you're able. Like the video, share, subscribe, become a member here at Burn It Down with Kim Brown. We appreciate all the material and the free support as well. So, this past Super Bowl 58 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers did not go the way that the Niners had hoped. The Chiefs have become the first team since the New England Patriots to win back-to-back Super Bowls, led by their MVP quarterback there, Patrick Mahomes. But while the Super Bowl, which happened to be the most viewed event, according to CBS, the most viewed event since the moon landing, they said, in 1969, the Super Bowl had over 123 million viewers. 120 of those watched on network television. I believe another 3.5 million watched on other platforms. The most viewed Super Bowl ever, the most viewed program in U.S. television history was the Super Bowl, y'all. And while the Super Bowl was happening, America's number one ally, Israel, decided to execute a bombing campaign in the south of Gaza, in the town called Rafah. Southern Gaza is where all of the Palestinian refugees have been directed to gather at, because that was a so-called safe zone where Israel promised that Palestinian refugees would be safe if they all fled to Rafah, right? As the IDF and Israeli forces aided with U.S. artillery and bombs and missiles, have proceeded to destroy a large part of Palestine, right? And Rafah now encompasses a population of 1.5 million people. The whole population total of Palestine was 2 million. So we got 1.5 million people crowded in this one place. And during the Super Bowl, Israel did what many are calling the Super Bowl massacre. While Americans' attention was diverted to the Super Bowl, the foosball game, Israel murdered dozens of Palestinians. Now, the news that you heard coming out of this Rafah attack was that 2 Israeli hostages were rescued. And that has been the lead story. What has been buried later in the story is that, quote, 67 Palestinian civilians were murdered. And throughout this war, the majority of the almost 30,000 Palestinians that have been killed by Israeli forces, 2/3 of them have been women and children. And this attack in Rafah was no different. So I want us to take a look at a couple of clips. Both of these come from TikTok. The first one is actually an NPR package. NPR has a journalist on the ground in Palestine reporting on the actions there. And then the next clip that we're going to see right after that comes from a TikToker talking about the actual status of Palestinians in Rafah, and the tremendous cowardice and cruelty that the Israeli forces, that the Israeli military, directed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the absolute disregard for humanity, and the ways in which Israelis are preventing from humanitarian aid from even reaching the very exposed Palestinians who are dying not only from Israeli missiles and bullets, but they're on the brink of starvation. Let's look at the packages, y'all. Let's check this out.
In the middle of the night, an intensive and crazy bombardment all over Rafah city was totally heard and wake me up, me and my family. At the first moment, we felt that this is the start of the ground invasion for Rafah. It appears after that an Israeli special forces entered the city and freed 2 hostages. At the same time, the Israelis carried away a heavy bombardment in the city. It was very loud, from missiles to artillery and even helicopter bullets. The Israeli army said that the bombing was to give cover to the special forces, but innocent Palestinian civilians paid a very heavy price for this. Hospital officials tell me many dozens of people were killed. I saw with my own eyes 2 twins that they lost their mother, a father that he lost all of his family, and a 40-days-old infant who got killed.
This is evidence that the second you stop paying attention is the second the Israeli government takes advantage. While the Super Bowl was airing tonight, the Israeli government has launched their attack on Rafah, where 1.4 million Palestinians are currently residing. And when I say residing, I mean forcibly displaced, sleeping in tents, all crammed into one another with absolutely nowhere to evacuate to. Already they have bombed 14 houses, 3 mosques, and they have killed, I know this says 60 plus, but I think the number is at 120 plus people. If you didn't know this, Biden had given Netanyahu the green light to attack Rafah so long as they had an evacuation plan for Palestinians. Obviously, Netanyahu knows that's not possible. They are as furthest south as they can go, so no evacuation plan, we're just going to attack anyway. Netanyahu told his war cabinet that they need to be done attacking Rafah before Ramadan comes, which is March 10th. That is in 28 days. Palestinians in Rafah don't even have another 28 seconds to spare, so I ask every single one of you to please go to the link in my bio and email your reps. All you have to do is select your state, put in your zip code, and it automatically populates an email for you, and you click send. All of that takes less than 10 seconds.
Politically, I'm not certain that elected officials in the U.S. Are feeling what they need to be feeling surrounding the U.S. basic tacit support and endorsement of the genocide that's happening in Palestine. Joe Biden of late has tried to talk a little tough to Netanyahu, saying that the bombing is indiscriminate, that it's over the top. And you know what Netanyahu said? Fuck you, nigga. Send me some more bombs. And Biden said, okay, dog, I got you. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what we're dealing with here. Like this acknowledgement of the war crimes of genocide, that this sort of, tongue in cheek acknowledgement, but you're not actually willing to cut off the spigot of arming the Israelis to continue in this genocide campaign that they find themselves on, right? And the sister there talking about reach out to your elected leaders, which I encourage everybody to do that. And in fact, not now, Will, but momentarily we are going to be hearing from one of my elected leaders. Now, I didn't vote for this nigga, but he still represents the state of Maryland in the Senate, Chris Van Hollen. Van Hollen actually talked like he had some fucking sense, but his vote actually showed us quite the opposite. But before we get to Van Hollen, I want us to take a look at just further evidence. Although the evidence at this point is overwhelming, the evidence could capsize us all of the war crimes that the Israelis are committing against Palestinian civilians. But there were a pair of Al Jazeera journalists who were also killed. And many believe that journalists have been targeted by the Israelis, but intentionally, the Al Jazeera journalists have been targeted. Total, I believe there's been over 120 journalists murdered since October 7th. And murdering members of the press intentionally is a war crime also, okay? And Israel knows this. So the first clip we are going to see is going to be about the Al Jazeera journalists who are killed. And I know this is almost like Groundhog Day because I know I've reported about journalists being killed in Palestine recently, somewhat recently on this program. And then the second clip we're going to see is a comment made by I believe this is the UN chief, the chief of the United Nations, because all of the world humanitarian organizations, regardless, trust me, we could think very badly about the UN and all of their related so-called humanitarian organizations. We don't have to look no further than Haiti to see that the United Nations is not always, and perhaps in many instances, seldom a positive actor for humanitarianism on the world stage, right? The UN is quite capable of fuckery, but you know what? At least they will try to tote the correct line in public about shit that is right and shit that is wrong, especially when it pertains to genocide and blatant human suffering. So let's take a look at these. And let me give content warning, guys. I believe some of this footage is going to be graphic, but this is real life. This is what's happening to Palestinians. This is what's happening to people in Gaza. This is what's happening to people in the West Bank, in this part of the world. And we should absolutely care. And even though some of it is hard to watch, y'all, like, no matter what the fuck is happening here, and some bad shit happening here, whatever's happening here is not what the fuck is happening over there. So you try to keep things in perspective. So content warning, trigger warning for perhaps some graphic images and just news about innocent people having their lives taken in an imperialist war. So let's take a look.
2 more journalists were targeted this morning. 2 more journalists were targeted this morning and critical injured. It's now.
I am deeply troubled by the number of journalists that have been killed in this conflict. Freedom of press is a fundamental condition for the people to be able to know what's really happening everywhere in the world.
Now, Al Jazeera has released a statement following that attack on the 2 journalists by Israeli forces. This is what the statement says. Al Jazeera Media Network confirms that the targeting of reporter Ismail Abu Ammar and cameraman Ahmed Matar is a full-fledged crime added to Israel's crimes against journalists and the latest in a series of deliberate targeting of Al Jazeera's journalists and correspondents in Palestine. The network stresses that this targeting is intimidation against journalists to prevent them from reporting the heinous crimes committed by the occupation army against innocent civilians in Gaza. Al Jazeera renews its calls on the international community and media freedom groups to take action to protect journalists in Gaza and hold Israel's occupation army accountable.
Correspondent Ismail Abu Omar and cameraman Ahmed Mattar were reporting from Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip before they were hit by missiles from an Israeli drone. They've been reporting on the Palestinians displaced between Rafah and Khan Yunis. Minutes later, they would become the story. The drone strike has left them with catastrophic injuries.
Al Jazeera's correspondent Ismail Abu Omar arrived at a makeshift hospital after suffering severe injuries. He was targeted by a drone missile at the Maraj area. Upon examination, his right leg was already severed, in addition to shrapnel all across his chest and his head, as well as his left leg. We suspect his femoral artery was cut off at the bottom of his leg. He was given first aid and then transferred here to the European hospital. He was bleeding heavily to the point that his blood pressure and pulse were not readable. This means he is in critical condition.
Ahmed Mattar has suffered shrapnel wounds to his head. Both men are in a serious condition, according to doctors. The government media office in Gaza says it's the fifth time in this war that journalists working for Al Jazeera have been singled out. It says they were deliberately targeted in violation of international law. At least 126 journalists have been killed in Gaza since October the 7th, according to the government there.
Ismail Abu Omar, Qanat Al Jazeera, Khan Yunis.
Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera.
So the journalists, I believe, are still trying to recover. They have not been killed. At least that the latest indicate. If I misspoke, my apologies there. That the journalists were indeed targeted by Israeli forces. And as you hear from the reports, it sounds as though there's no question that their injuries are catastrophic. I honestly am not certain what the latest update on their status is. So I encourage you to go to Al Jazeera, AJ Plus. I know they will have the latest on the status of those news gatherers working for them, who were just doing what they are supposed to do. They are supposed to show us what's happening. They're supposed to tell us what's going on the ground. And when Israeli forces use their drones, armed drones, guys, this is the same armed drone strikes that Israel used to go deep into Lebanese territory in order to target a so-called Hamas leader with a drone strike. Where did that happen? I know what happened in Lebanon. I can't think of the city, but right now. But this is how nice they are with this shit, right? Like Israel's armed drones can pinpoint a person, y'all, with a missile. And that's exactly what they did to those Al Jazeera journalists. Those journalists are wearing very distinctive gear, helmets, flak jackets, usually things on them that identify them as press. It's meant to illuminate them so the soldiers know not to fucking shoot them. So the Israelis knew exactly who they were dropping missiles on, and they did it on purpose. And this is just the latest example. Like, we've seen the Israelis use their forces to go up into hospitals dressed as doctors and start shooting patients. Like the levels of depravity that the Israelis have committed against the Palestinians really knows no bounds. And here come the dumbass fucking United States still trying to push for more funding to support Israel and Ukraine and Taiwan. And the Senate was actually able to get something passed Tuesday morning, a budget, $95 billion foreign aid, blah, blah, blah. Majority of that earmarked for Ukraine, but Israel got some change in there too. It has not yet passed the House, but when the sister in one of the previous videos says to email your elected representative and tell them to get this shit together, right? Democrats especially are starting to change their tone. And I found this very illuminating from one of my own senators, Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen. I I can't say whether or not Van Hollen is a cracker. I mean, he might be a cracker. I'm trying to think. Can I recall any overt crackerism from Chris Van Hollen? And for some of our new viewers who may not be familiar, and especially if you are Caucasian or non-Caucasian, whatever, to be clear, when I say cracker, am I talking about white folks? Yes, but I'm talking about racist white folks, okay? And liberal Democrats are very good at racism, their own particular brand of racism. Yes. Does it sound like Trump and the quote MAGA Republicans? No, it does sounds a little different, presents a little different, but it's still crackerism nonetheless. So I don't know. Let me just assume. let me assume Van Hollen's a cracker out there. You know, like I said, I didn't vote for that motherfucker. But regardless. So anyway, so Chris Van Hollen circulated this video on his social medias. And this is like him. I don't know how in the fuck he got 20 goddamn minutes to stand on the Senate floor and just pontificate. But when I watched it, and I did watch it, I said, oh, he's making points. But when I realized how he ended up voting, I said, oh, right. Right. This is how the Democrats play on our face, right? They will feign or even actually articulate very good understanding of the situation, right? Oh, so you do understand what's going on. Oh, yeah. They understand, they empathize, they feel it, right? But between what the fuck they say and what the fuck they end up doing, usually be night and day. So we're going to pick up some of Chris Van Hollen's comments. And guys, again, I don't do this to y'all. I don't force y'all to watch these Bamas on the floor of Congress, you know, doing that oral masturbatory thing that all these senators love to do. Just you know, I'm like, can you put the lotion away, please? Like, I don't want to hear all this. But regardless, like I said, I would not say impressed with Van Hollen's comments, but it caught my attention. So Will's going to pick this up at about 9 minutes in. Y'all gonna catch a few minutes of this because I want y'all to be clear that he's clear on what the fuck is happening. He's crystal fucking clear on what's happening. So Will, let's pick up Senator Van Hollen's comments on the Senate floor from Tuesday.
Standing by, and in some cases with their active participation, attacks Palestinians with impunity and pushes them off their land. What should we do? What should we do when we have made clear that the United States opposes the launch of a new military operation in the city of Gaza because it will turn into an even bigger humanitarian disaster, but Prime Minister Netanyahu goes on American national TV to say he's going to do it anyway? Rafah is a city in southern Gaza. Before the war started, it was a city with a population of about 300,000 people. Its population has now multiplied in size by 5 times. About 1.3 million people are there now, over 1 million of them having fled death and destruction in other parts of Gaza because they were told by Prime Minister Netanyahu and others that they would be safe there. I visited the Egyptian side of the Rafah Gate about 5 weeks ago, along with my colleague, Senator Merkley, to better understand the humanitarian situation in Gaza. We talked to people, we listened to people, we got fully briefed. Madam President, the humanitarian situation was a catastrophe then. And by all accounts, the situation in Gaza has gone from nightmare to pure hell, even more so in the north than in the south. When asked on national television on Sunday where all of these civilians now seeking refuge would go, Prime Minister Netanyahu breezily stated, you know, the areas that we've cleared north of Rafah, plenty of areas there. That's what the Prime Minister said on American TV. Now, Madam President, unless he's talking about areas that were cleared through bombing and have been reduced to rubble, it's simply not true. Don't believe those who claim that there's an easy path to caring for the 1.3 million people in Rafah. It wasn't that long ago that Prime Minister Netanyahu claimed that there was no humanitarian crisis in Gaza. No humanitarian crisis there. In fact, he boasted that he was allowing into Gaza the, quote, minimum amount of humanitarian aid to avoid a humanitarian disaster. Well, the claim that there's no humanitarian disaster doesn't pass any credible test, and we know that. For weeks, the United Nations and international aid organizations have warned that Palestinian civilians are on the verge of starvation. Those warnings have been ignored and dismissed by Prime Minister Netanyahu and his extremist government. Just recently, the World Food Program, together with UNICEF, which is the UN organization to look after the well-being of children around the world. Both these organizations, by the way, currently headed by Americans. The WFP and UNICEF issued an analysis recently on the deterioration of the nutrition situation in Gaza during the first 120 days of the war. Here are some of the things that they concluded. In northern Gaza, more than 90% of children aged 6 to 23 months and pregnant and breastfeeding women and girls face severe food poverty. The food they do have is of the lowest nutritional value. More than 90% of children aged 6 to 23 months and more than 95% of pregnant and breastfeeding women and girls are eating 2 or fewer food groups. 95% of households are limiting meals and portion sizes. 64% are only eating 1 meal a day. They indicated that health screenings show a rapid deterioration of the nutrition situation for children aged 6 to 23 months in northern Gaza, with global acute malnutrition at over 15%. WHO, the World Health Organization, classifies global acute malnutrition over 15% as a critical emergency. Madam President, yesterday I began to hear reports of people who have actually starved to death in Gaza. So earlier today, I asked the head of the World Food Program, former American Ambassador Cindy McCain, about these reports. I sent her a note, text message, asking about reports that some children have now crossed the awful threshold from being on the verge of starvation to dying of starvation. She wrote back, and I quote, "This is true. We are unable to get in enough food to keep people from the brink. Famine is imminent. I wish I had better news," end quote. Madam President, I want that to sink in. Kids in Gaza are now dying from the deliberate withholding of food. In addition to the horror of that news, one other thing is true. That is a war crime. It is a textbook war crime. And that makes those who orchestrate it war criminals.
That's enough. That's
So
enough.
now the question is, what will the United States do?
That's enough, Will.
What will we
the
do?
United States do?
What will President Biden do?
That's enough, man.
President Biden must take action in response.
All right. There it is. Maryland Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen announcing that the denial of food assistance getting into Gaza because Palestinians are literally starving to death, that children are literally starving to death, in addition to women and children and innocent civilians being bombed by the tens of thousands. These are war crimes. and those that allow it are war criminals. So I'm assuming he means the likely Democratic presidential nominee, Joe Biden, right? If Netanyahu and Israel are committing war crimes, but they're committing these war crimes not only under American authority, but using American artillery, well, then America also is committing war crimes, yes? Now, no. I mean, this ain't America's first rodeo with war crimes. I mean, check the resume, my nigga. Fucking Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam, Grenada, Haiti. Where you want to go? We been around. We been around the world. We been around doing war. We been around the world. Man, spin that fucking globe and throw a dart. Throw a dart at the world map. I assure you, America has committed a war crime there, and we are aiding and abetting the war crimes right now. Thank you so much, Chichi Macha in the chat, reminding us that under Twitter, we still calling it Twitter, that under the Twitter tweet of Senator Van Hollen, patting himself on the back for getting the answer right about what the fuck is really going on in Palestine. Yes, it was noted that Van Hollen, after that speech, indeed voted in favor of that foreign aid weaponry military support package. He voted in favor of it to give Israel another, what, $14-15 billion, I believe is in the bill, even though it still has not passed the House. But the Senate, the hardest chamber to get shit passed in fucking Congress, was like, oh, this is easy peasy. What was the vote, y'all? I think it was 70-29 was the vote. A few Republicans crossed the aisle to vote in favor of the spending package. And Chris Van Hollen, punk ass, talked all that accurate shit about what is happening in Palestine, what is being allowed to happen to the civilian population in Palestine, what Netanyahu is doing, playing directly in our faces, right? And he went ahead and voted to send him some more money whilst cutting funding, cutting aid and humanitarian funding for Palestine. You cannot trust these fucking Democrats, kids, okay? And when I say Democrat, and I say you can't trust the Democrats, listen, I know, let us please not have no goofy DNC ass niggas in here, because that does not mean go fuck with Trump and the Republicans. That's not what that means at all. But it means that we need to be very clear. There is no lesser of the two evils. This is evil. What Joe Biden is enabling out of Israel is pure evil. And to be clear, if Trump were in power, the shit would not be no fucking different. Okay? It might be slightly worse, but I don't really know how we can improve on worse in what's happening right now in Palestine. It is a nightmare situation, right? And it is happening under the authority and under the watch of the Biden White House, okay? So please make no mistake when these motherfucking Democrats start screaming and hollering about we have to protect democracy. Bitch, I'm not protecting no fucking body who enables this kind of shit. I don't give a shit who your opponent is, nigga. Okay. You are doing this. And don't try to have no tough talk for Netanyahu now, Chris Van Hollen, Joe Biden. You keep sending him the bullets. You keep sending him the artillery. You keep sending him the weaponry. That is giving him permission. If you want him to stop bombing Palestine, stop sending him fucking military aid. Don't send another goddamn tank shell, another fucking bullet, another fucking missile over there if you really want him to stop. And the bottom line is they don't want him to stop. And you know what? I hope let this be the issue as much and fuck it. You know what? Let it be a constellation of fucking issues that cost Joe Biden the White House. You know what I'm saying? I know that the power brokers at times are willing to concede power in order to get to the greater goal, whatever that might be in Israel, right? And I know there's a lot of learned, not speculation, but people have really looked into this, and you should go check out them people, okay? because Israel's master plan, I cannot speak to the details. I just know that it's sinister, right? And it bodes poorly for the Palestinian folks. No question about that, y'all. But this cannot be allowed to run. So I'm hoping that the two issues, well, like I said, I hope it's a bunch of issues that capsize Joe Biden. But one of them issues has got to be this shit what's going on, the genocide in Palestine. And the other one's got to be the fact that women lost tremendous access to reproductive health access under Joe Biden. Again, all this shit happening under Biden. God damn. Trump wish he could have been this fucking busy in his first term, right? Fucking shit up around the world. Trump wish he could have been this goddamn busy. Trump is pissed. He ain't got a hand in this right now. But I don't wish Trump on any of us, y'all. I don't. I really don't. But again, from the position of the people who are on the ground in Palestine, for the people who are suffering at the southern border, for our people who continue to suffer at the hands of American law enforcement and in the prison systems, if the shit needs to be shaken up by Donald Trump, if Trump is going to get America closer to failure, it's got to be fucking Trump. And I'm not saying go vote for that nigga. No. I'm saying withhold your vote if you so choose from a Biden ticket. Because how can you in good conscience keep supporting an administration that is supporting what's happening to the Palestinians right now? And that's exactly what Joe Biden is doing. And again, Joe Biden's record is deplorable on a lot of things, okay? We got the Mountain Valley Pipeline still pressing forward through Southern Virginia and into North Carolina. That is a pipeline that is going to go through Black-owned and Indigenous-owned and rural areas that's going to be transporting disgusting coal and coal ash and all kinds of nasty shit. Biden okayed that. He approved that shit. What else is Joe Biden out here doing fucking shit up? Just to bury the thing. Just to name it. Name it. If Biden got his fingerprints on it, he's fucked it up. Okay? And if the Democrats need to suffer loss in power in the White House, on the congressional level, if they get the full minority of Congress, so fucking be it. Like, stop coming to me every 4 years with your hand out or wagging your finger or shaking your fist at me because this is the most important election of our lifetime, because if we don't get out and vote for Joe Biden, the world is going to fall apart. Well, y'all have run this game on me for at least the past 4 to 5 presidential elections. I stopped falling for it during Obama's second term, but and I have not fallen for it since. But a good many of our people are out here falling for the shit because Trump is made to look like the second incarnate of Satan, which he probably is. But Joe Biden, if Satan is one, Biden is one fucking A. Like, don't let that old doddering granddaddy act fool you, y'all. Like, don't. I know it don't fool none of y'all. Never mind. I know y'all not fooled by that shit. But you got to tell our people, and you need to underscore the fact that we need to be concerned about what is going on in Palestine. Again, I was watching the morning show this morning. Umar came up, and what the fuck was, I don't search for that nigga. I don't know what the fuck Dr. Umar be talking about. But if he's on some shit influencing younger generations of Black folks to not care about what's happening in Palestine because that's that shit over there. No, the fuck it isn't. Okay? Them IDF forces come over to America to train. Those IDF forces share tactics and strategies with American policing that they, in turn, use against us, Black folks in America, right? Like, there's too many overlaps and too many connections for motherfuckers with giant platforms to just tell us as an oppressed people to not give a fuck about other oppressed people. Nigga, are you high? That's what's wrong with these fucking pseudo Black capitalist ass niggas. They start to fucking talk like white folks. Jesus. They start to fucking talk like isolationist minded whites that don't want to make connect. Anyway, you know what? Not our white friends, of course. Oh shit, somebody ran us some bucks. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But y'all, so should I call Chris Van Hollen's office? I think I should. Unfortunately, I can't record it because in the state of Maryland, you need 2-party consent, right? But everybody getting recorded on the phone call or anything recorded in the state of Maryland. Everybody needs to be made aware of the situation, right? So I'm not that pressed to record my call with Chris Van Hollen's office, but I won't hesitate to call because that sham, that performance, dog, didn't we just have the fucking Oscars? It was Oscars coming up. And regardless, that shit was Academy Award winning, okay? He broke it down. He called out Netanyahu. He identified the crisis. He talked all the right shit. Nigga, oh, you studied. Oh, you're familiar with the topic. Okay, then why the fuck did you vote complete opposite of how the fuck you just talked? Why? Because Democrats do this. Hold on. Let me illustrate. They do this. That's called talking out of both sides of your neck. Everybody familiar with the phrase talking out of both sides of your neck? That means you are taking opposing positions on an issue and you are talking out of both sides of your neck. And that's exactly what that punk ass motherfucker, Chris Van Hollen, you bitch, nigga, I told y'all, this whole Maryland congressional delegation ain't nothing but bitch niggas from top to fucking bottom. We ain't had a real nigga represent Maryland in Congress since goddamn Barbara Mikulski, and she was a real one out here. Babs was real with the shit. Babs used to be a social worker. That's why Babs was real with the shit. Now, don't go pulling up Barbara Mikulski's voting record and talk about what Kim. she supported the crime bill. I don't know for a fact that she did, actually. Barbara Mikulski might have voted against that shit, but don't correct me. Look, look, I'm getting weeded now. I know I contradicted myself. Look, I don't need that now. Just once in the blue when there's nothing to do. All right, let me calm down. Thank you so much for the support here. Who do we have here? Oh. Helpful Harm. Thank you so much for the super chat support there, Helpful Harm. Helpful Harm says, vote third party. Okay. If we doing vote at all, if we do vote at all, our numbers are invisible. Listen, I'm not opposed to voting third party. It was a Green Party candidate. God damn. I know her name. Her name was Heather Mizor. Heather Mizor, I believe, ran for governor against Larry Hogan and Anthony Brown. Is that the year that Heather Mizor ran for governor as a Green? I think I voted for her ass. And then I think the Dems got with her, and I don't hear from Heather Mizor. I don't hear from Heather Mizor hardly at all. But to your point, Health for Harm, I agree. We could vote third party. You know, as soon as and to be honest, this is where some of our community organizations can guide us along the way. You know what I mean? Can I get that voter cheat sheet, please, and thank you? Can I know who's on the ballot in my county, in my district? Like, who should I vote for? And trust me, a lot. The last time, when the fuck we last time vote? What's this 2020? I guess it was 2022. I voted. I'm telling you, I left a lot of shit blank. or I wrote in, my favorite rapper. I think I'm damn positive that I wrote in Ghostface Killer for governor of Maryland. No. I wrote in myself. Duh. Kid, Ghostface is not a Maryland resident. Be silly, Kim. Of course, I wrote in my goddamn self. I think I wrote in myself for governor, and I wrote in myself for several offices because I was the best candidate available. But my point is, to your point, Health for Harm, no, that not to be flippant. I agree. I would absolutely spend my vote on a third party candidate. So long as there was one on the ballot. In PG County, heavily Democrat, and the Democrats don't take kindly to the third party ass motherfuckers and will play dirty to keep third party candidates off the ballot. So guide me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. You know what I'm saying? Help me out. So anyway, let's keep this pushing to the end here. Thank you to everybody that came in and checked out. What's up, Teresa? Thank you so much for checking in. Infinite, I see you. Feminist News Network. We got Latif still in the building. Shout out to Good Sister and Court. Shout out to Afra. Shout out to Holly and Wendy. And James and Chichimacha. Make sure I didn't forget no more super chats. I want to thank everyone that came out to the disability support chat that we had on Saturday. Uh, Great discussion per usual. Thank you so much to Anna, Mama Lorraine, and Abby for just being awesome, being available, being open, and follow BIDWKB on Discord. If you are disabled adjacent, if you're a caregiver, reach out to Anna. Like, she and Mama Lorraine and Abby have made themselves available, y'all. Like, they're the level of support that these women have offered of themselves in order to be a support to others is just absolutely mind boggling. It's mind boggling, because I love Blades of Steel. Oh wait, what's the Will Ferrell movie, Blades of Ice? I'm gonna shut up. But you understand what I'm saying. Mind boggling. I was trying, regardless. BIDWKB on Discord, I believe. Reach out to Anna, Mama Lorraine, and Abby, because they are amazing individuals. Vesper, thank you so much for coming to the jam on Saturday. It was great to be in community with you as always. Join us tomorrow morning, everybody, for the Remix Morning Show. I thought there was something else I had to tell y'all, but I can't remember what it was. I cannot recall what it was. So I'm going to mind my business and call it a night. So see y'all tomorrow morning on Black Power Media for the Remix Morning Show, starting at 8 a.m. Eastern. And I guess that's it. I see y'all back here on Friday. I really feel as though I'm forgetting to tell you something. Like, I'm like, one of y'all supposed to go pick up some milk or something. I can't even I can't even conceptualize what it is. But it's that feeling like, wait a minute, I can't get off the phone yet because there's something I'm trying to tell you. But that's not what I mean.
I got some.
Who was that? Little late. That's a
Rest
little
in
late.
peace, Eddie Conway. It's been a year
Oh wow!
since it's been gone. Just wanted to put that in the air. So,
It's been a year
love you,
today,
Eddie.
Will.
Yeah.
Oh, has it really? Jeez, time just marches on. Absolutely, rest in peace, rest in power to Marshall Eddie Conway, one of the Panther veterans from Baltimore. Eddie was incarcerated for over 40 years unjustly. And after he came out, Eddie made himself available to the Baltimore community, really to the wider community. Will was mentored by Eddie. And if you're not familiar with Eddie Conway's story, I encourage you to go to the Real News, number one, and go rewatch some of his long running program. It's called Rattling the Bars. He dealt with a number of issues pertaining to incarcerated folks, and their struggles for human rights and the conditions in which they are subjected to. But Eddie was an incredible person. He did amazing work while on this planet. It is a shame that he spent the majority of his adult life incarcerated, but when he came out, he absolutely made the most of his time and had quite an impact on his own neighborhood in West Baltimore, Gilmore Homes. So shout out to Eddie. Thank you, Will. Tubman
About to
House.
put a documentary that I did on Eddie in the chat. Please like and subscribe it.
Thank you. Thank you, Will. Thank you guys very much. And we appreciate if you guys go watch that documentary that Will did about Eddie Conway, and spread it around as we remember Eddie on this year anniversary of his passing. That's incredible. So anyway, guys, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Shout out to Will. Big up to Molly, who has been putting in work on the channel. Got us a bunch of new subscribers and things. So thank you, Molly. That's amazing things. And we'll see y'all back here on Friday, y'all. See y'all later. Bye-bye. Bye.